1. So things got off to a rocky start Wednesday. As you all probably know, there is a storm system currently moving through that's stalled over the region it's in. I'm in Kentucky. It's been so freaking weather crazy and my anxiety is through the roof. Tornadoes everywhere, flooding, deaths, you name it, and it's happening here and it's awful. First off, I want to thank all my brave warriors for sticking with it and keeping people safe. I've been updating everyone that checks in and giving them suggestions on where to go in the room if we are hit. So far, I've been thanked by every person. Most thought the bathroom, but I said no, because it's just a toilet and bathtub in there, and if the toilet or bathtub from the second floor comes down from the floor, it will literally crush them. I told them to hang on to the pipes under the sink by the bathroom. I hope that's the safest thing. I don't know though, you know? And I hope you've all researched and made a storm shelter plan. I made our entire plan for my workplace because they're like, I don't know what to do. Die, I guess? Jeez, these people. That's my bosses. Awesome people. I'm sure you all have guests flocking to you. I know I do. I have the next 2 days off, but these last 3 have been so stressful because I've been super scared but just trying to be calm for others. And I finally got off work and came home, cleaned out my downstairs interior room, stocked it with all the crap I'd need in a storm, and waited. Nothing hit, thank God, but I think I'm now as prepared as I'll ever be. Got good water, blankets, you name it, even litter for my kitty. Speaking of my kitty, if anyone has a cat, pay attention to it during storms. Mine freaked out, and I mean freaked out. I was trying to calm her down, but I was freaked out too by all the lightning and wind. So I went to my garage door and looked out. After powering for a minute or so, I saw a bloody tornado. My cat sort of saved my life. It ended up moving northeast of me, but yeah, I saw a tornado and it was terrifying. And it was confirmed by several people the next day, even though we had no warning. And my stupid county doesn't have sirens. Dumbasses. Stay safe and weather alert. Update. Everything is fine in my area. Just lingering rain and, a freeze watch. This has seriously been like something out of a disaster movie. But everyone I know is safe and my little motel still stands. As well as my home, all my friends and family, and their homes. Just wanted to let you all know, and pray for the people that the storm is still not over with. 2. My halfway shaky expectation of understanding from Super Shiny members was dashed by Mr. No Incidentals. Just a few nights ago, my colleague and I noticed a resi 10 nights. Unusually long, seeing as the average long stay at our property tends to top out at 3 nights. My colleague says, I feel like this is going to be a problem. I audibly wonder why, pointing out, but it's a Super Shiny member, they're usually pretty easygoing. Still, my colleague's doubt didn't waver, considering the length of the stay already being so expensive, somewhere around $1,600 total, jeebus, before incidentals. Alas, the shift continues. We get down to just one arrival left, Mr. No Incidentals himself. The clock strikes 11, and our night auditor approaches the desk on time, and then we begin transition. But then, sure enough, the sound of suitcase wheels rolling through the hall fills the air, and of course, it's him. I was already halfway walking into the back office to get my stuff together, so my colleague signed back in and processed a reservation to give the night auditor time to get settled. I noticed she was taking a while. After several minutes, she finally comes into the office extremely annoyed. I told you he was going to be a problem. What happened? I ask. He had a whole cow about the incidentals, telling me, I ain't paying that. It wasn't mentioned anywhere on your website. That's ridiculous and it'll put me over my budget. For context, our incidentals are $50 per night. We have 2 restaurants, a coffee shop, and a self-serve marketplace right next to the front desk. So there are many outlets that guests can charge to. This is the justification management goes by for the price. So, as for Mr. No Incidentals, he did still check in, but only after demanding his stay be reduced to 3 nights. And I'll take this up with the manager tomorrow. Fine. We were both off the next day, hoping he really did get it sorted out. Spoiler, he did not, despite a manager having been there literally all day. So now it's Thursday evening and we're back on property. It's the middle of the shift and guess who sails on over to me? He seemed to make sure to completely go past my colleague, despite her being available at the first desk. Possibly because he recognized her and was doing the classic tactic of trying to get a different answer from a different face. He opens the conversation. "I'd like to speak to a manager about an issue with my reservation." I first ask him to tell me the details, and he recounts everything I just said from his initial check-in, and asks for his reservation to be extended, but without the application of the incidentals. I reply, "I understand your frustration, sir, but," and I point to the plaque next to the card terminal, "our incidental policy is $50 per night for every guest."
"But that's not on your website. I wasn't prepared for that."
"I understand, sir, but that's simply the policy."
"So you're telling me you won't accommodate me? I'm a super shiny whatever member."
"I understand that, sir, but unfortunately there's nothing I can do. Every guest has to pay incidentals."
"Well, I see that. All right."
He walks away. No voices were raised. It was a relatively stable conversation. It seemed he just continued on with his current reservation and would find other accommodations. But of course it's never that easy. The next day, 2 hours before my shift starts, my other colleague and supervisor, who was standing at the last terminal during the previous interaction, sends me a screenshot of a text thread with Mr. No Incidentals. Our automated system sent the usual goodbye message, including asking for feedback to better our services. My good friend decided to label the service he got as
completely rude. "I've had better experiences at back road motels."
But the real kicker is that he accused us of discriminating against him.
"Probably due to my last name."
"Hold the phone there, good buddy. You, a gentleman of tanned complexion, initially spoke to a half-black, half-Spanish agent, then you spoke to me, an even darker-skinned agent, and yet we've discriminated against you. Not saying it could never happen, but I personally got driven up the highest wall by this, as I've experienced both direct and insidious discrimination of my own in the year that I've been working at this desk. Nevertheless, rather than accepting the hotel's policies for what they are, he decided to throw a tantrum and then play the royal victim card by making it seem the staff had a personal vendetta against him. Yet another example of lacking a sense of personal accountability, a skill that I have come to realize many folks are masterful with. Mr. No Incidentals concluded his feedback by saying he'd be
escalating the situation to upper management.
And this experience
has made me reconsider staying at any Fly Cheese properties in the future.
My manager did reach out to him in an email and, quite thankfully, kindly re-explained to him for a third time the incidental policies. In other words, reminding him that he had no real grounds for complaint. Moral of the story: if you don't like a hotel's policies, nobody's forcing you to stay there. Call, email ahead, find out the info you need, and if you don't like it, simply find somewhere else that suits your needs better. Adieu, your shininess. 3. My property has undergone serious leadership changes in the last year. We were bought out, corporatized, and had nearly every single manager and upper staff either quit or be fired for various reasons. It has not been a smooth transition by any measure. This has been made worse by having a less than stellar GM. This new GM, Molly, has been here for less than a year, since several months after the buyout, and has been causing chaos for nearly all of that time. She is responsible for the firing of many of the people who have been here for years in the most inconvenient times possible. We don't need a comptroller on the busiest weekend of the year, right? We can just suddenly fire him with no one trained to replace him, right? It'll be fine for an accountant who hasn't finished her degree and an auditor without a degree to take over all of his tasks, right? Not to mention the undisclosed legal trouble she's been in at another hotel for fraud, or for the strange and completely inexplicable disappearance of money and checks, as well as many employees not getting paid. Well, at long last our corporate overlords found out about her past, and then all of a sudden she's quitting. Sus as hell, but at least she'll be gone, I guess. But she seems determined to take down as many people as possible before her last day. She had packets of people she's been writing up. She has been barely showing up at work on the days she's supposed to be here, and now I did the dumbest thing ever, presumably by accident. I'm the senior auditor here, and honestly would have quit by now if it weren't for pretty much the only manager from before that's still standing. The front desk manager, Anna. It's 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on out. And I'm trying to juggle my numerous extra tasks when a man in a uniform comes up to the desk and tells me he's here to test fire safety equipment. Surprising that no one told me about this, but not entirely unexpected, since things have been getting dropped all over the place. And I've been seeing maintenance requests for some of the equipment in our kitchen. I ask the guy how long it will take and what he needs, and he says he needs to look at our fire panel. I go to show him, thinking he just needs to know where it is to shut some things off or something, and he tentatively asks me if I know he's going to have to set off the fire alarms to check the system. Full stop. It's 4 a.m. Literally everyone in the hotel is asleep at 4 a.m. I confirm with him, "You mean in the whole hotel?" And he tells me, "Yes, the test is of every fire alarm in the building." Now I'm livid. This is absolutely not happening. People throw enough of a fit over genuine fire alarms. But if this guy sets off every alarm in the building for a damn test, I'm getting my head ripped off and roasted on a spit by every guest in this place. I ask the guy who on earth authorized such a stupid thing, and I instantly recognize Molly's email on the forums. Now I'm even more angry. If it was our maintenance team, sure, I could understand them being stupid and not caring about guests. They have their own problems, which I won't get into. But the freaking GM? I call Anna and tell her that I'm absolutely not letting this guy set off our alarms at 4 a.m., and she agrees. The poor alarm guy seems really apologetic, and even tells me that 1, he thought it was super weird that someone scheduled him for this at 4 a.m., as most properties tend to do sometime around their checkout time, and 2, that after looking over our logs, it turns out that this test was done back in January, and we didn't need to do it again until next January. I'm honestly flabbergasted that any hotel GM could be that stupid, but at this point it's just par for the course of the bull that's been happening here since the buyout. Can't wait for Molly to GTFO. 4. I work for a popular extended stay chain. I've been sitting on this one for a bit, but it happened to me this month. It was hours into my shift, and I really needed to pee. I'd been doing inventory and had all my paperwork on the desk. I put my little sign up that says I'm on the property and would be back momentarily, and I ran to the bathroom right across the hall. I was only gone for somewhere between 2 and 4 minutes, but when I get back, I found a woman standing behind the desk, right in front of my computer and my paperwork. I know I hesitated in my steps when I saw her, but I smiled and politely asked her to come out from behind the desk. Cue the yelling. She said she was leaving a note to charge some items to her room, still standing behind my desk as I'm still walking toward the front. Our conversation unfollowed as follows. "You're supposed to be here. What if someone came in and you weren't here?" "That is why I left the sign up. I only ran to the bathroom for a moment. Please come out from behind the desk, ma'am." "But what if I was going to steal my drinks?" "Well, I am the one who does inventory, and you're on camera, so we would have caught it and charged you anyway." And I finished that off with my best smile. "Well, why weren't you here? You're supposed to be here." "Because, ma'am, I work an 8-hour shift, and I am a human being. Sometimes I gotta pee. Now, you're in an employees-only area, and I need you to not be. You wouldn't go back to the kitchen at a restaurant if your server hasn't been to your table yet." "I've never had someone be so rude to me. You're going to get fired. I'm going to file a complaint. What is your name? I'm a rewards member." "That's fine, ma'am." I gave her my name, pointed to my name tag, still smile plastered on my face, "and we also accept Google reviews. Have a good night, ma'am." At this point, I had a line 5 people deep waiting to check in. One of our regulars was among them. He approaches to check in and does that whistle people do when something screwy is going on. The lady, guest, I'd been talking with was heading toward the elevator, but she stopped when she heard that whistle. She did an about-face and came and just stood by the line, staring and listening. Since she'd approached, I stopped and asked her really quick if she needed something. Hear more yelling, "What? Am I not allowed to be in the lobby? I can be here if I want." I told her she absolutely could. I just wanted to make sure she didn't need anything else. I checked in the last guest in line and went to the back to sit, watching the cameras. She stayed in the lobby for over 20 minutes, but I left her sitting there. I swear, it's like people's brains fall out the second they enter a hotel. Of all the places and fields I've worked in, I have never had so many people require assistance with such basic things. How do you see a sign and just decide you're going to enter an area anyway? 5. So I work the night audit at my current hotel, and last weekend, while I was working, the scariest thing happened to me, which has seriously made me question if working here is really worth it. Okay, for some reference, I'm 5'3", 125 pounds, so I'm not a very big person, and most nights I'm left with at least 1, sometimes 2 loads of laundry to fold, which is no big deal for me because usually if someone actually does come in my shift, I can hear the front lobby door from in the laundry room, so by the time the guest makes it to the counter, I'm usually already standing by the desk. Well, last weekend, while I was in the laundry room folding towels, a man walked in, then walked around the lobby, then went into our dining area and walked around in there, then walked into our kitchen. There's no cameras in there, so no one knows what he did in there. Then walks back out and into our pool area, which is inside. Opens up one of the side doors and lets his dog in. Eventually, I come out of the laundry room once I was done, sat down at the front counter, then decided it was time for a cigarette break, so I went to walk out the front door when I heard a noise. So I turned around and proceeded to look where the noise was coming from. I didn't even consider looking towards the pool because it closes at 10, and it was after 1 a.m. at this point. So I'm looking around, trying to figure out where the noise is coming from, and right at the last second, I see this man coming out of the pool room, and I'm literally standing right next to it. This man definitely has some mental health issues, but we don't discriminate. So I asked if he had a reservation with us, and he completely flipped on me, saying his brother was here and I needed to get in contact with him because he wanted to go home and that the VA will be paying for his room tonight. I said, "Okay, what is your brother's name, so I can look him up and see if he's staying here?" When I couldn't find his brother's name, I told him so, and he again went into a rage, but calmed down and said, "Yeah, it's been a while since he's been here, maybe about 10 years or so, when he was here last." I'm like, okay, 10 years ago is not him here tonight. Then he asked me for a room, and the VA will be here in the morning to pay for his room. I informed him that I couldn't give him a room without some form of payment, so he reached in his pocket and completely emptied them onto the counter. The results of which were he had enough for the stay and deposit we required if a guest pays with cash. I took what was needed and left the rest, made him a key and sent him to his room. He came back to the desk 10 minutes later, completely stuttering to the point I couldn't understand a word he was saying. Apparently he needed some water because he was having a panic attack. But this continued for the next 3 hours every so often. He'd make his way down to the desk and do or say something that would creep me out. Well, when the morning shift came in, I explained to her that the guest in room XYZ is a little unstable, and proceeded to tell her my interactions with this guy and how he scared the bejesus out of me when he came out of the pool room. Well, morning shift person proceeded to tell our manager about it. She looked at the camera footage from that night, which is how I know about him walking all over the place before settling in the pool room. But my manager then proceeds to tell me that this guy has already been trespassed at their other property, which is about 7 minutes down the road, because he's extremely aggressive and hit the night audit person over there several times. So yeah, now I have to lock our front door anytime I leave the desk for anything, manager's orders, because thank God nothing happened, except for the fact that I was creeped out by this guy, and now he's been put on our do not rent list. For those of you that are going to say you would never have rented to this guy, or that you would have called the cops, believe me, I thought about it a few times, but again, we're not allowed to discriminate, and he didn't actually do anything that I was aware of wrong. Hellfreezer's note. Sorry you had to go through that. It doesn't sound like a very pleasant situation to deal with. Having worked with the public for quite a number of years, I know how frustrating and creepy many of them can be. However, while the policy might say you do not discriminate, go with your instinct. It's better to ask forgiveness and permission, so if you think someone is a risk, is a threat, don't rent to them. And call the cops if need be. Your safety is more important than your employer getting a few extra bucks. Hey folks, thank you very much for listening to the new Confessions of a Hotel Worker, that's 172. I hope you all enjoyed it. Big thanks to the folks who let me use their stories in this video. If you care to support the channel, I would appreciate it. You can do that by joining me on my Patreon page. That's linked in the description, as is the merchandise store. And you can also leave a tip by clicking on the heart with a $sign. There are memberships on YouTube available as well, if that inclines you so. It's kind of similar to Patreon as I understand it. Okay, no more bits and bobs today, so let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is... I'm not sure if I've asked this one before, so I'm just going to ask it anyway. Those of you who are in a position to do what you like to your front door, either with or without your landlord's permission, because if you own the house, you just have to give yourself permission. Do you have like a Ring doorbell or a camera or something that would let you communicate with people and film them, record them when you aren't home? If so, how do you like it, and do you think it's worth the money? I'm curious. I'd like to get one. Leave your answers in a comment below and maybe let us know what brand you have. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And the question was TV shows, something you were a bit late coming to. And then you were like, this is actually pretty good. And today's answer comes from Undead Froggo. I was so incredibly late to the Buffy train. I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer for the first time ever last year, 2024. And I was so disappointed in myself for never watching it sooner. It's one of my favorite shows. Well, but you see, the silver lining of that one, Undead Froggo, is unlike those of us who watched it when it first aired, you don't have to wait for decades to get new Buffy material now, because there is a new show which is currently in production, but we're not quite sure when it will air, but we know they are at least doing something. I'd imagine they'll shoot a pilot and decide if they want to make more. And of course, if you haven't seen Angel already, you might enjoy watching Angel, because he got his own show where he did pointy-haired stuff and fought monsters. It was quite good. I actually enjoyed it a little bit more than Buffy, and I really liked Buffy. Oh, also, the film gets a bit of a bad rap, but honestly, it's just fun entertainment. The film they made in the early 90s, that was before they made the TV show. Okay, I'm going to hush up now and head off. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves. I'm just a big fluffy puppy with bad teeth.